Is it just me, or did Obi Wan Kenobi and The Mandalorian both just shade Disney's sequel trilogy? Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian, and Ewan McGregor, Obi Wan Kenobi, met for an Actors on Actors segment for Variety, and they shared a bunch of interesting insight on the Star Wars performances they've done. I want to go through all of them together, but I also wanted to showcase this one little bit where they seemingly... I feel like they really seemingly sort of acknowledge that Star Wars wasn't good recently until The Mandalorian. Before we get there, there is this interesting tidbit here that I thought you guys would want to see. Here's Pedro Pascal. You know, after all that drama where he's done with The Mandalorian, no, he confirms right now.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a season 3.
They haven't shot it yet, but he does confirm it. And Ewan McGregor is very excited to hear it. But it's just really fun to watch these two actors. Pedro Pascal clearly looks up to Ewan McGregor, talks about how much of a fantastic performer he was in Trainspotting and looked up to him. You can just see how giddy he is to be able to talk to him. And Ewan McGregor is very just like, oh, gosh, thanks. It's a really fun conversation between these two. But obviously Star Wars comes up, and they both talked about it because Ewan is currently shooting the Obi-Wan series and talks about
That's
it.
great. It's so loved. I tell you what it's done is
But here's the shade.
It's sort of, for me, because I'm about to start, I'm started doing this Kenobi series, and it's similar in the technology, what have you, but...
And he obviously started again. He started his Star Wars experience with the prequels.
It pulled me back into the Star Wars world, the Mandalorian series, in a way I didn't expect. I had my experience doing it in the 90s, and it sort of blew me away how much I loved it.
So wait a second. There were a lot of Star Wars movies in between your period and The Mandalorian. He clearly didn't watch any of them, nor care to, is what I gather from that. Is it just me?
It was sort of the first thing that I noticed when I started meeting with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni was that they were finding a way to totally...
fix Star Wars? I mean, no? Are you getting the vibe here too?
Realize their love of Star Wars, all of our love for Star Wars, for... you know, all of the movies we had seen
the good movies up to
that point.
It just feels like they're both tiptoeing around, like trying not to call out how bad the Disney overlords were with their sequel trilogy, JJ, etc. I don't feel like they're trying to throw specific shade at anybody. Don't get me wrong here, but it does feel like you're like, yeah, those movies, whatever. But Mandalorian, man, that was something, huh?
And so, creatively to step into something, it felt, I don't know, it just felt so safe. It was so clear to me that they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because he was worried that who would be worried that the folks behind Star Wars don't know what they're doing. I think this was accidental in a way, but the true feelings were shown that they just don't like the sequel trilogy. So look, you can watch the whole thing. I think it's going to be up on YouTube, so you can watch it over in Variety. But I do have there's a transcript as well to sort of go through sort of all the best stuff, some other tidbits from the interview. But I want to hear your thoughts before we get to the other facts about working with Yoda, etc. What do you think? Is it just me, or did you get a vibe too that they're both sort of like trying to tiptoe around, not wanting to admit that the sequel trilogy was not as good? Tell me down below. While you're telling me down below, make sure you're also hitting that subscribe button, hit that bell for all alerts so you get notifications, smash that like button, and leave your comments on what you think based on what you just heard. But there's still more. All right, so let's go through this. So they talk about working together. Ewan McGregor talks about how he's working with all the same crew. Deborah Chow's directing the series. I know she directed some of yours. Having such an amazing time with this incredible technology and not being in front of too much green screen, blue screen. DISS at George Lucas's insistence on filming everything on the green screen. Pedro talks about it's really incredible, isn't it? It's like being on an amusement park ride. And then here's Ewan McGregor. I did the first 3 films in the late 90s and into the 2000s, and by the time we did episode 2 and 3, literally 90% of the scenes were just on green sets with green floors and green walls, or a blue set with blue walls and blue sides. It'd be such a different experience with that same character that you were doing before, and then coming in and doing it with all this new technology. McGregor goes, I like it. It's like the beginning of Hollywood. It's almost like when they had 3-sided sets all in a row and a bunch of guys with wind-up cameras and you would just go from one stage to the other, one background to the other. We're doing all that sort of same thing, except just the background changes instead of the stage. I'm excited about it because I feel like anything's possible now, that you can invent stuff, interiors, exteriors that don't exist in real world. You can put us all in that environment. Also, you don't have to fly ever. I mean, traveling has been great for the first 30 years of my career, but now I just want to stay home. I don't want to drive to work and drive home from work. I want a proper job. A lot of actors are finding that more convenient. And so, yeah, they acknowledged the third season. They talked about how it's pulled them back. This is that moment which I was telling you about. McGregor asked about his relationship to sort of Star Wars. How did he get involved? And he says he loved, it dominated his childhood along with Indiana Jones, E.T., all the Spielberg, Lucas stuff. When I met with them and stepped in the writer's room, there was all these illustrations. It was really surreal to see this familiar imagery, and it was just pulled out of your imagination, and what the impact they have. It was amazing. McGregor goes, the beautiful thing is it's a galaxy far, far away. It's a universe of possibility, really. We've got the original movies, the linear nature of those, but I just love that they and you took it into this different direction, to a slightly different tone, but in the same world, Also, this transcript's nice because the other one is edited a bit. You don't get the full, so here's the full dialogue of what they said. For those of you who are like, why aren't you playing the clips? They'll ding me, but here you get the full context. Pascal's talking about the fact that, yeah, it's like the old and the new are mixed now, because you really can sort of just be in these worlds directly, and have this tone. McGregor then asked, how'd you keep the Baby Yoda secret? And then even McGregor realizes, I know it's Grogu, which impressed Pedro Pascal. And he goes to say, that may be literally the first secret I've ever kept. Don't share anything personal with me, but there's so much seriousness around the leaked information. It's just a bit too much. I tell my family everything, but I didn't tell them Grogu. I didn't even know what the name was going to be. But it was easy to not talk about it because I didn't want to compromise any of the secrets or anything else. I wanted it to work. And was Grogu on set? Was it a puppet? Pascal then said, yeah, it talks about the incredible puppet, how all the details here of how, if you've seen the behind the scenes, it was amazing. But he shares this interesting story about how it didn't make the cut, but they were walking around here in this paragraph here, and the puppet was warming itself near fire, or curious of some kind of fire coming out of a jet. And I said, don't get too close. And then whoever was doing the remote literally had the puppet look at me, back off, and be like, oh, okay. It was kind of unbelievable. It was a really good scene partner. But, that's what's amazing. He tells, McGregor shares a really interesting story opposite of that. He says, yeah, in the first movie, I was really lucky because I got to do my scenes with a Yoda puppet. It was extraordinary because I acted with him. I couldn't believe I was acting with Yoda. There's so many people operating him, and the stage is lifted up, so they're underneath the floor. We're literally walking next to each other, and he's alive. Then every time George called cut, Yoda would die because everyone just stops, and it's sort of disturbing every time the end of the scene would come along, and Yoda just falls down like a puppet. They then replaced him in our second film and our third film with the digital version, and it's not nearly as endearing. Also, we know Yoda as a puppet. We know him from the original movies as a puppet, so when it was suddenly computer generated, it didn't feel like Yoda to me anymore. It was interesting that it went back to an actual puppet with your series. And Pascal agrees, yeah, it worked on so many more levels. And that way we had this emotional and tearful goodbye, to not have the puppet for that, and also the knowledge of its reception from the world and how everyone felt about its creation. It was one of the more strange acting experiences I've ever had. There were so many different things factoring into it that it wasn't necessarily understanding the story so much in terms it was we were telling with Mandalorian, but the context of all of it, if that makes any sense. McGregor, I don't think I'd be giving away a secret. Pedro goes, be careful. He's like, I got to be careful. There's no secret to when this series is being set, though. But I had to walk past 2 stormtroopers. Ooh, scoop alert, scoop alert.
Exclusive.
He has walked by, in the show, he'll walk by 2 stormtroopers. He realized he'd never acted with a stormtrooper because mine were clones, It was a clone army. So I'd never seen a stormtrooper. So I was walking past them in this scene. I turned around and I was 6 years old again. Pascal, doesn't it do something to you? McGregor, insane. I was feeling like I was 6 again or something because I was so close to one and I got a fright, So crazy. Then I asked someone, were the stormtroopers in my films? I don't think I saw a stormtrooper before in real life. They were like, no, they weren't stormtroopers. They were clones. And Jawas, I had another scene with a little Jawa. And so anyway, that's where the Star Wars stuff sort of ends. They go talk about Ewan McGregor's new show, Halston, on Netflix, which I kind of want to check out now. That sounds interesting. But there you go. Some really interesting insight from the two. It was really fun to watch them talk to each other. You can see it here. I guess it's premiering on YouTube in a bit. It's really fun to watch the two of them sort of, you can just tell they had a blast engaging with each other. And so very cool to see them fanboy over each other, two Star Wars icons, two acting icons. I think they're both really good actors. Say what you, I know some people have issues with Pedro Pascal, the hypocrisy of Disney. I get all that. But man, I still really like the show. I think there's a lot of creative talent behind the show that I still enjoy, and I'm excited to see what Ewan McGregor does with the Obi Wan series because I'm a big fan of him. So it was fun to watch these two sort of fanboy and talk to each other actor on actor. Really good concept. What did you guys think? What's your funnest takeaway there? Again, tell me down in the comments below. Stay tuned for more. Lots of commentary, scoops, lots more coming. Make sure you hit that subscribe and stay tuned for more here on Popcorned Planet.